Good evening. My name is Andrew Meehan, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the Raise the Glass Against Rett virtual gala. We're coming to you tonight to help create a world without Rett syndrome. First, I want to thank you for your support. This event was made possible by people like you across the country, including our virtual gala sponsors. Thank you so much for your support. One of the most empowering qualities of the International Rett Syndrome Foundation, known today as RettSyndrome.org, is the strength of the community it brings together. We've got a great night for you. October is Rett Syndrome Awareness Month, and we could think of no better time to host a virtual gala. Families from around the world are going to great lengths to raise awareness and funds for Rett syndrome. Tonight, you'll get to hear from several families whose lives have been forever impacted by Rett syndrome, as well as leaders and supporters from our community. You'll hear about the incredible work that RettSyndrome.org is doing through their two-pronged mission. With your help, we can surpass our goal of $200,000, getting us closer to a world without Rett. These are challenging times, and every gift, no matter the size, will help. But be sure to stay with us when we raise a glass together at the end. Get your drink. It can be a cocktail, mocktail, wine, juice, milk, whatever. Have fun with it. Now let's hear from Luke and Catherine Kassam, two of our event chairs, and RettSyndrome.org's chairman of the board, Bill Babiars, whose daughter Cammie has Rett syndrome.
Good evening. Thank you so much, all you pretty people, for joining us this evening for Raise a Glass in this virtual style event. We're so honored to be a part of hosting this. For over 20 years, we've been involved in both helping accelerate a cure and treatments for Rett syndrome, and have been so blessed to get to know so many families, volunteers, supporters, clinicians, researchers, all of the heroes out there who are committed to making a world without Rett syndrome. I am so grateful to have been brought into this world of Rett through my sister, Carolyn Shannon, who was a doctor and researcher and clinician. And for over 20 years, my husband and I have been intimately involved in this organization. So tonight we celebrate you, the heroes who have joined us and are committed to helping us further the mission of the Rett Syndrome organization. Thank you so much.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for RettSyndrome.org's virtual gala. I'm coming to you live from my house in Chicago. First of all, I'd like to tell you what an honor and privilege it is to serve as chair of RettSyndrome.org's board of directors. I know that some of you may not recognize me by face or name. It may help if it just said Cammie's dad on the bottom of the screen. When Cammie was diagnosed nearly 10 years ago, Jackie and I were immediately drawn to RettSyndrome.org because of their two-prong approach. RSO has invested over $50 million in research and really laid the groundwork for how clinical trials advance today. Cammie was one of 30 girls who participated in one of the very first trials, IGF-1 in Boston. And while research for treatments and hopefully someday a cure is important to us all, we as Rett families need to maximize every day now. Primary care guidelines, communication standards, webinars, and being connected to other Rett families, whether it be through state reps or through family conferences, are all vital in the present. For us, just meeting others at an RSO family conference who understood our daily lives made our lives that much easier. I'm sure that many of you have come to this very same conclusion, that care and cure are vital in our lives, and that's why you're with us tonight. There isn't a treatment available right now, but I know that will not always be the case. Tonight, we can help RettSyndrome.org make a difference for thousands of girls and boys with Rett, as well as their family and friends. Later on tonight, my family and I will be raising a glass against Rett. I'll be drinking this delicious old-fashioned. Grab your drink, water, pop, we don't call it soda here in Chicago, beer, wine, whatever makes you happy. We'll raise a glass against Rett together, because together we can create a world without Rett.
Thanks, Catherine, Luke, and Bill. Care and cure. I love that. As you heard from Bill, RettSyndrome.org's mission is critical, and you can help them continue their important work accelerating research toward a cure and empowering families. Consider giving a gift right now. You can text RettGala to 41444 or give online and follow the link below. You'll be able to give any gift amount you choose, and every little bit helps. Now I'd like you to meet Anthony and Sarah. Their daughter Louisa has Rett syndrome. we hear that even though they were overwhelmed by a Rett syndrome diagnosis, RettSyndrome.org was there to provide them with hope and show them how they can thrive.
RettSyndrome.org has always been a source of hope for our family. When our daughter, Louisa, was diagnosed with Rett syndrome in July of 2014, it was RettSyndrome.org that was the first group to really come alongside of us. And even before that, when I was concerned about Louisa's development, and I did a lot of Googling of her symptoms, and time and time again, Rett syndrome just kept coming up in my online searches. And so many websites you visit tend to highlight the difficulties these girls will face in life, and they don't really bring a lot of hope. And it wasn't until I came across RettSyndrome.org's website that I really began to first feel that sense that we were going to be okay, and that Louisa had a lot of potential despite this diagnosis. And so the website highlighted families who were thriving, girls who were getting the right therapies and who were doing well in their communities and in their families. And so the website itself was just such a source of information and hope for our family right after diagnosis and even before. And then when she was diagnosed, it was RettSyndrome.org that came alongside us. They gave us names of local people that we could call, local families, Rett syndrome families, that could get us plugged in. They actually sent us, RettSyndrome.org sent us the Rett syndrome handbook. So that was the first thing we got right after Lou's diagnosis, and it was from them. And ever since then, they've just kind of been right there with us. It was about a year after Louisa was diagnosed that RettSyndrome.org put on their family conference outside of Chicago. And so my mom and I traveled up there, and we were able to hear a lot of the amazing speakers, people who were giving presentations on how to help our daughters with communication. We got all the latest scientific updates at that conference. And so again, just another source of hope and promise for us. And then most importantly, at that conference, we got to meet other families, and we got to see how other families how they were doing on this journey. And so I always have felt like with RettSyndrome.org that we're never going to be alone, that we always have resources for this journey.
Yeah, I would agree. The staff was unbelievable. They reached out to us. They sent us the Rett syndrome handbook. It's completely overwhelming to get this diagnosis. It was for me, just scary. And as you look through this handbook and all of the other bits of information you find online, it can become so discouraging because you don't feel like there's any hope. But we've been fortunate that Louisa has participated in 2 pharmaceutical trials here in Birmingham, at University of Alabama at Birmingham. She's been part of the natural history study funded by RettSyndrome.org. And for me, that gives me, I know it gives Sarah and other families a lot of hope, because Louisa's story doesn't have to mirror exactly the stories of the past. It doesn't have to mirror exactly the stories we read about, and that's exciting for us.
Rett syndrome is a devastating disease that affects nearly every aspect of an individual's life. As many as 1 in 10,000 individuals are diagnosed with Rett syndrome. You can help. Text RettGala to 41444 to give today.
Thank you, Anthony and Sarah. My sister Kimberly has Rett syndrome. As a sibling growing up alongside a sister with Rett, there was a certain helplessness and even despair that can be overwhelming. As a child, there's little you can do, and for families with special needs children, the dynamic can be overwhelming. Enter RettSyndrome.org. My mom was the first to get involved with their organization. She started going to the conferences and learning more, drawing on the support of the experts, and using that information to provide better care to Kimberly. When there were urgent care needs, we relied on them to provide support and information to general practitioners and support Kimberly's care. The most important part of RettSyndrome.org to me is the community. I see that tonight. No one should do this by themselves, and RettSyndrome.org has provided tremendous support to thousands of families across the globe. As the years have progressed, my family and I have gotten more and more involved with supporting the foundation. My mom started by running marathons, and I started with charity happy hours. This morning, in support of tonight's gala, I ran to Baltimore from Washington, D.C., roughly 40 miles. It's a relatively easy thing to do with this level of community support, and frankly, par for the course when you consider all the other Rett athletes out there. RettSyndrome.org provides an opportunity to get involved and support the Rett community. I want you to meet another big brother. He and his family have been with the foundation since his sister's diagnosis in the late 80s. Let's hear from Robert.
Rett syndrome has been part of my life since the late 1980s when my younger sister Megan was diagnosed. As an older sibling, it was difficult for me to understand why she developed differently than me and different than the other little kids. But she remained my little sister. And today, she's an inspiration for me and she gives me perspective. If she can confront, she reminds me that other people have problems far worse than whatever I might be experiencing. And if she can confront those challenges with a smile, like she does every day, then surely I can too. She also reminds me to think of other people's problems and not just my own. She reminds me to think about how I can give her a better life and also give better lives to others. And this is where the work of RettSyndrome.org is so critical. RettSyndrome.org is helping to bring families together, creating a community around Rett, and helping to foster communication, understanding, and awareness about the disease. This is critical to helping Rett families deal with their day-to-day struggles, just as my parents benefited from the organization as we were all growing up. But RettSyndrome.org also funds important and exciting research. This is where I've been able to help as an adult through pro bono legal efforts, helping to negotiate agreements with research institutions as they've been looking at developing cures and other innovations surrounding how to treat Rett syndrome, we hope. So every time I see my sister and she gives me a smile, or she gives her dogs a hug, our dogs a hug, or she embraces one of her nieces and nephews, I'm reminded that there is hope. Hope for a world without Rett.
Okay, we're back. I was just checking the donations, and I have to say we're having a great night. Let's keep it up. Don't forget that you can give in a few different ways. The first is use your phone to text RettGala to 41444. When you do, you'll get a link back to our donation form, and you can choose to give any amount you want. You can also give a gift right here online by following the link below. And lastly, if you'd like to give over the phone, use the number at the bottom of your screen. Next up, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Dominique Bouchard, who is the Chief Science Officer for the Foundation. She's also a mom to a daughter who has Rett syndrome. She understands the challenges of Rett firsthand and is guiding the research to future advancements.
Good evening. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm the Chief Science Officer at RettSyndrome.org, but I'm also a parent to Catalina, a teenager with Rett syndrome. I was drawn to this organization because of their commitment to make advancements to get us treatments for our kids. Rett is one of 7,000 rare diseases, but what makes Rett syndrome unique is that it was demonstrated to be reversed in an animal model. There is no current treatment available, but that won't be the case for long. We've invested more than $50 million in research. Your past support has been instrumental to advancing the breakthroughs for Rett syndrome. Our Legacy Foundation funded the research that proved Rett syndrome was reversible in mice. We funded the first clinical trial for Rett syndrome. We helped to develop a clinical trial that's now reached phase 3. This is the last stage necessary before the FDA reviews it for approval. That means the last stage necessary before you can go to the pharmacy and pick up a prescription for your loved one with Rett syndrome. We funded the early foundational work of gene therapy for Rett syndrome. And today, there are more than 10 clinical trials, either ongoing or in the pipeline around the world. And for rare disease, this is incredible. But all of this was because of your past support. But we're not done. 2020 has been a challenging year for many, but we haven't let that slow us down. In the last year, we've continued to make tremendous strides. This winter, we launched our scientific advisory board. We got a group of exceptional scientists who are putting their minds together to identify those gaps that we need to fund to make continued advancements. But in order to turn these scientific breakthroughs into reality, into an FDA-approved treatment, we need two other pieces to be in place: the families and the clinic network. So that's why we've launched the Rett Research Ready program. This is a tool for our small but mighty community. This is the education to our community about clinical trials, and a venue where they can find out what clinical trials are ongoing so that they can be empowered to make an informed decision and to continue to contribute to the research. We're also investing in the clinic network infrastructure. Without this infrastructure, there is no place to perform clinical trials. There is no way to move these scientific breakthroughs into the FDA's hands. We need that piece to work for us, to help our community. But we continue to invest in more science and new research. We've already invested more than $1.3 million this year. We're funding a lab to work on identifying targets that would be new potential treatment areas. We're testing other drugs in labs that could potentially move their way to clinical trials in the near future. We're funding RNA editing, which is exciting work that could become a transformative therapy for Rett syndrome. With your help tonight, we're poised to make an additional investment. Your help is critical to families. Rett syndrome doesn't stop. Every day, there are new children being diagnosed with Rett syndrome. We cannot stop our efforts to bring a treatment to families. You can transform their lives. Thank you for your help tonight in bringing hope to thousands with Rett syndrome.
Studies show that symptoms of Rett syndrome have been reversed in mice. RettSyndrome.org is funding research to transform the lives of those with Rett syndrome. There is hope on the horizon.
Thank you, Dominique. As you heard, RettSyndrome.org has played a significant role in laying the foundation for many of the advancements in Rett syndrome research. But they're also closing the gap to bring treatments to families affected by Rett syndrome. Having a strong clinical network is also critical. In fact, RettSyndrome.org's partnership with Rett clinics and associations around the country have helped give it the strong reputation it has today. By supporting the clinics and association, RettSyndrome.org is helping to unify and empower more families.
RettSyndrome.org's mission is twofold. We work tirelessly to accelerate research towards an eventual cure, while empowering families by providing access to Rett syndrome experts through a nationwide clinic network.
Ashley and Matt are a part of the Midwest Rett Syndrome Foundation and have benefited from the partnership between the two organizations. They also serve as RettSyndrome.org family empowerment representatives for Minnesota families.
Good evening. We are so excited to be here with you all. As Rett parents, supporting RettSyndrome.org means so much to us. From the support they provide to newly diagnosed families, making sure you are connected with resources, medical care, and even other families in your area, to their unwavering commitment to raising funds for the research of treatments and their continuing support of Rett families everywhere. Making sure RettSyndrome.org is able to continue doing what they do is important to us.
As a member of the board of the Midwest Rett Syndrome Foundation, We feel that supporting RettSyndrome.org is an important part of our mission because of how involved they have been in aiding us in providing our area families with education, support for Rett-related issues, and research initiatives. In other words, they help us to improve the lives of those living with Rett syndrome. RettSyndrome.org supports our annual education days, whether that means lending us their chief science officer to talk about where current research is, or their executive director, Melissa Kennedy, to speak to families about the different ways they are available for support. RettSyndrome.org has also played a crucial role in supporting our clinical network. They have established centers of excellence like the one here at Gillette. Our clinics do so much important work. They are experts in Rett. They understand the diagnostic criteria of Rett syndrome and are not only dedicated to recognizing needs of those diagnosed, but helping to improve their quality of life as well as doing the hard work to advance clinical research.
In short, RettSyndrome.org does a lot for a lot of families. I think we speak for many when we say we are so grateful to all of you who continue to support RettSyndrome.org so they can continue to do all the good that they do.
Thank you.
In 2020, RettSyndrome.org launched Rett Research Ready and My Rett Trial Finder, published the first ever research-based communication guidelines for Rett syndrome, and offered at-home therapy Facebook Live trainings during the COVID-19 quarantine. Rett syndrome does not stop. Neither do we.
RettSyndrome.org's mission is twofold: accelerating research and empowering families. One phrase that RettSyndrome.org uses often is that they stand with families today while fighting to transform their tomorrow. You can help RettSyndrome.org continue to provide the necessary daily support to families while they work towards treatments and ultimately a cure. Now I'd like to introduce you to Melissa Kennedy, the Foundation's Executive Director. Melissa's been working to build on RettSyndrome.org's strong legacy to advance their mission. Let's hear from her now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's gala. It's great to be here with you tonight, and I'm in my living room standing next to a piece of art made by Cami Babiars that I bid on at the last in-person Cami Can event at a great place in Chicago called The Sidebar. It's a fun event and one of our many that typically happen throughout the country each year. I really miss that we cannot be together this year. I know that you all feel the same. We have missed nearly a year of get-togethers, time when we reconnect with friends and build community. But we are hoping to bring you a sense of community tonight, virtually. I would first like to thank our host families, sponsors, MC, contributing families, the Midwest Rett Syndrome Foundation, and all of you who have purchased a ticket to join us this evening. Your support is priceless. I would also like to thank our board of directors, the researchers throughout the world, the national network of clinic directors and their teams that work tirelessly every day to try to make life better for people living with Rett. 2020 has been brutal, and it is hard to say when things are going to feel normal again. Like the rest of the world, our board and our team came together virtually last March and talked about what 2020 was going to look like. We knew it was going to be really hard, and we understood how especially tough it was going to be for the Rett syndrome community. And we leaned in. We knew that this was a time that more than ever, we needed to be there for you. Many of you know that we often boast about our Charity Navigator, Guide Star, and our Best Charities ratings. Those designations mean that our foundation is managed in a very fiscally responsible way. And while this year has been incredibly difficult financially, we were able to make important investments when you needed them most. Last March, we immediately invested $1.3 million to continue to advance critical research that would have otherwise stopped, including RNA research with promising therapeutic potential. We moved our entire educational program to virtual, even adding programs, bringing therapies into people's homes via Facebook Live, and to date, those materials have had over 250,000 impressions. We published communication guidelines in an effort to help you unlock your loved one's voice. We launched the Rett Research Ready program and stayed in constant contact with pharmaceutical companies about when trials were reopening, and we worked to keep you continually informed. We launched our medical advisory board, which has been working to develop criteria for centers of excellence in Rett syndrome, and that means our clinics will be fully prepared to participate in clinical trials. All of this happened since March, during a global pandemic. We did not stop because Rett did not stop. And all of this work was made possible through the support of our community. You and your generous support allowed us to continue. If you're able to do so, we hope that you will continue to give. Thank you for being with us tonight. I hope that you enjoy seeing a few old friends and virtually meeting some new ones. It's an honor for us to serve you every day as we work to create a world without Rett syndrome.
We joined the Rett world earlier this year in January after Lauren's genetic testing came back positive for the syndrome. Getting a more specific diagnosis helped make sense of some of the behaviors we were not sure of that didn't fit the autism diagnosis. No matter what we labeled it, the goal has always been the same of providing Lauren with any support needed to live her best life.
Not knowing much about Rett syndrome, we did some research and came across RettSyndrome.org. Signed up for the newsletter, hoping to get more information, stay up to date. Never did I imagine receiving a phone call about 2 hours later from Samantha Brandt, introducing herself and her role at RettSyndrome.org, and also sharing her personal story with us. She's been a great resource and support, answering questions, checking in to see not only how Lauren's doing, but how we're doing as parents too. I was able to reach out and connect with a couple Minnesota families and talk about local resources that were available when Lauren started her transition from ABA therapy to now a full-time school program.
Like anything that our children are a part of, we want to be supportive and involved. So when the Rett's 5K came along in the spring, we took the opportunity to participate. Our initial thought was it would be a fun activity for us as a family of 5 to look forward to and to put it on the calendar. And if we raise $100, we get a free t-shirt. As the day of the event approached, we were completely blown away by the support of our family, all of our friends and neighbors. We had well over 50 people join us in walking, and we raised over $5,000. Lauren gives new meaning to the phrase, "It takes a village to raise a child." And we certainly have been blessed with an amazing village that loves Lauren very, very much.
We've been so appreciative and supported by the efforts of RettSyndrome.org. We love Lauren for who she is. She's a happy, healthy little girl, and she's got so much life. But it gives us hope knowing that research is being done and potentially a cure and advancement in helping those with the diagnosis. How amazing it would be to be able to unlock all the knowledge and wonder that we see in Lauren's eyes, and for her to be able to share that with us. Wanting to be even a small part of that is why we are here tonight.
Wow, what a beautiful story. Families like the Henslins are why we're here tonight. There are thousands of families like them all over the world. Many of them have children or loved ones who are waiting for years, decades even. They need your help to further advancements and develop treatments and a cure for those with Rett syndrome. As you can see, there's a lot of beauty and strength in the Rett syndrome community. But there still is a great need for hope that you can help provide. Tonight, you're meeting just a few of the families affected by Rett syndrome. But Rett syndrome affects thousands in the US and hundreds of thousands around the world. I want to show you a few of the faces of the children and adults living with Rett syndrome. To do so, I've asked a local 90s cover band here in DC to provide a fun song. Here is White Ford Bronco to help us out. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate this. We hope you're having a wonderful time at this virtual gala.
Tonight, will you invest in the mission and vision of RettSyndrome.org to help more families like the Henslins? Rett syndrome doesn't stop. Neither does this foundation. They're here to create a world without Rett syndrome. Will you help? It's not too late. There's still time to give. Surpassing our goal of $200,000 only means we can fund more research and provide even more support to families affected by Rett. That's more hope for those facing this terrible disease. Remember that you can text RettGala, all one word, to 41444 to send your gift tonight, or even a second gift tonight. You can also give online or send a check to our offices at the address on the screen below. Whatever you can give, we thank you. I'd like to thank each of our sponsors tonight for their generous support of this event. Check out our online program to learn more about everyone who made tonight possible. I'd like to thank each of our families and advocates for sharing their stories. And I'd like to thank you for joining us and believing in the RettSyndrome.org's vision to create a world without Rett. So now is the time we've all been waiting for. Grab your glasses, fill them up with your favorite drink, and join me and our families as we raise a glass against Rett syndrome. One of the most important things you can do tonight is continue to raise awareness regarding RettSyndrome.org and the strength of this community. For that reason, I'm asking you to please take a photo of you toasting this special night and tag RettSyndrome.org with the hashtag #WorldWithoutRett. Now each of our tonight's guests will raise their glass. Join with us.
We lift our glass to the heroes among us, to a world without Rett.
To a world without Rett.
Ryan, you want to do the toast?
Sure. To a world without Rett.
Cheers!
Cheers to a world without Rett.
Here's to a world without Rett.
To a world without Rett syndrome.
To a world without Rett.
To a world without Rett.
To a world without Rett, thank you for joining us. Good night and God bless.
She's sneaky and change